Salam sejahtera and hello to Dr. Beatrice. My name is Christie Chong matrix number BH31003. And today I will present about bridging the gap, gender inequality in Malaysia's labor market. In this study, gender inequality in the labor market refers to the differences between men and women in participation, earnings, job security, and career advancement. In Malaysia, this problem still exists even though women now achieve very high levels of education. This shows that the issue is not about women lacking skills, but more about how the labor market is structured. When the education is no longer guarantees equal opportunities, it means that the problem is not individual. It is structural and it will affect the whole economy. Malaysia has made good progress in areas like health and education for women. However, gender inequality in labor market is still quite serious. This can be seen when the women are still less involved in economic activities, and this shows that the growth is not fully equal. The gender inequalities is because of institutional rigidity, cultural norms, and workplace practices. So in Malaysia, the issue is not access to education anymore, but the real challenge is how women's skills are converted into real job opportunities and fair outcomes. According to the picture, in 2024, Malaysia scored about 0.708 on the gender gap index. This means that there is some improvement, but progress is still quite low. When we look closely, the economic participation score is still weaker compared to education and health. In this case, even though women are educated and healthy, they still do not receive equal opportunities in employment and income. So, Malaysia is moving forward, but it is not fast enough to bridge the gap. According to the picture, the female labor force participation rate in Malaysia is around 56.5%, while men are above 80%. This means that even though the government has targeted of 60% of female participation, the target still has not been achieved. The biggest drop happens during the prime child rearing years, which shows that many women struggle to balance in work and family responsibilities. Low participation does not imply a lack of desire to work, but it means that the system is not supportive enough for them to stay in the workforce. In Malaysia, women are still concentrated in clerical, service, and administrative jobs. However, when we look at higher level positions, only about 1/4 of managerial and decision-making roles are held by women. This is what we call as vertical occupational segregation, where women are present in the workforce, but they are not equally represented in leadership. So women may be working, but they do not always have the same power, authority, or the chances to make the decisions. Even though more women are working today, but their average income is still lower than men. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, in 2024, women earned about 3,499 ringgit on average, which is below men's earnings in most sectors. What is important is that this gap still exists even when women have similar education and experience. Over time, this will reduce the lifetime earnings, savings, and retirement security, which means that the wage gap is not just unfair, it also creates long-term disadvantages for women. According to the picture, we can see that many women leave the labor market earlier than men. In the age group of 55 to 64, women's employment has actually decreased by 17% in the last 5 years, while men's employment increased. This situation is because of caregiving responsibilities and limited job options for older women. In Malaysia, women and men are often separated into different job sectors. Women are usually concentrated in areas like administration, education, and healthcare, while men dominate in STEM fields, technical jobs, and engineering. This is called as subsectors for women because it is usually offer lower pay and fewer opportunities for career mobility. So even though women are highly educated, the sectoral segregation has limits their earning potential, while also slows down the gender equality in labor market. Malaysia has also introduced several policies to support women in the labor market. This include by encouraging more women to join leadership positions, aiming the female participation labor by 60%, and also promoting the gender-sensitive workplace policies. There are also partnerships between the government and the private sector, especially in the women empowerment principles. However, even with these initiatives, the progress is still slow because of the gaps in enforcement and the lack of monitoring. Although many policies have been introduced, but most of them are still more symbolic than practical. Many initiatives focus fully on helping women enter the workforce, but they do not fully cover the retention, promotion, and wage fairness. Problems such as lack of childcare, inflexible working hours, and discriminatory promotion ladders are still not properly solved. So without stronger enforcement and accountability, the policies may exist, but the impact remains limited. So next is the economic consequences of gender inequality. Gender inequality in the labor market does not only affect the woman, but it is also affect the whole economy. So when women are not fully included in the workforce, it will make the country less productive and reduce their potential growth. According to World Bank 2023, by closing the gender gap, it could increase the GDP by a significant amount. In this case, constant pay disparities, professional disruptions, and segregation by sector can also create inefficiency because of skills that are not used properly. So gender inequality is not only a fairness issue, but it is also an economic cost to the country. Based on these findings, several recommendations can help to reduce the gender inequality in Malaysia's labor market. First, increasing the affordable childcare and elder care can minimize the labor force exit. Secondly, the workplaces should provide flexible and hybrid working options in order to help the women balance their family responsibilities and employment. Next is to introduce the equal pay law and wage openness in order to reduce the income gaps. Finally, more support is needed to develop women leaders and to recognize unpaid care work in national statistics, so that the policies can be better reflect women's real contribution. In conclusion, the gender inequality in Malaysia's labor market is not just a personal issue, but it is a structural and long-term. Even though women have achieved high levels of education, but they still face challenges in employment, wages, leadership positions, and work-family balance. Therefore, policy should not only focus on getting women into jobs, but they should also emphasize on retention, promotion, and stronger structural support. So without deeper policy, organizational, and cultural change, the gender gaps will continue to exist and will bring the economic cost to the country. So this is the references I use for this report, and that's all from me. Thank you.